Hi, everyone. Last presentation of the day. I salute you and thank you for hanging out.
I'm sure it's going to be the best one.
They're already serving champagne. You know, it's France, obviously. But today, I'm here from Zendesk, and what I want to talk about is kind of the things that we've learned about AI in the enterprise. Right? We have 100,000 customers. About 15,000 of them are using some kind of generative AI. We've been shipping AI features for almost a decade. Obviously, 10 years ago, they were not that good. But at this point, we've kind of developed it. And there's many lessons that have been learned. And the CX industry was really where I think a lot of people had initial excitement about the use of generative AI. Right? Sam Altman, very early after ChatGPT was launched, actually, talked about how he felt most customer service jobs were going to be eliminated. And quite famously, the CEO of Klarna, Sebastian, he talked about how they had used AI to automate a lot of customer service and removed maybe 700 people from their customer service department. This caused quite a bit of excitement. It was while they were, I think, filing to go public. But recently, he's sort of nuanced and changed that position a little bit and talked about how what they're seeing is that they're rehiring humans because they need to engage in higher value and VIP customer support. And this mirrors what we're seeing amongst our customers, right? Which is that the idea of human-to-human engagement is really important, but you just have to choose the conversations that you're going to engage on and understand the nature of customer service to be successful. We think these ideas and the way that we can think about it are applicable to other industries and other businesses. And so ultimately, generally, AI is clearly transforming the nature of work, right? It's clearly transforming the way that people do things in businesses and how we interact. In customer service, we've seen these kind of transformations from technology 3 or 4 times before, right? If you think about service 40 years ago, it was all in person. It was oral, it was hand to hand. Right? If you wanted to run a financial services company, you opened bank branches in every town, every city, and that was the gating factor for scaling. Along came the telephone, right? We could have conversations with people, the credit card business model was invented, and so on and so forth. And then the internet democratized again access to service, taught people how to self-serve, and then we had two-way chat, Web 2.0, and things changed. AI is going to be even more significant. One of the reasons for that is if you look at these previous disruptions by technology in customer service, they were all the additions of new channels of communication, like new ways of talking to people. They were not necessarily a change in the way that service was done. AI is going to be a change in the means of production of customer service, not just in the channel, right? And so it will not necessarily be humans. So in the previous examples, when we had a change of technology in service, we saw an increase in volume as it became more convenient to seek service. We saw an increase in the quality of service and a dramatic reduction in the cost of delivering service. And we're going to basically see all those things again with AI. But it doesn't necessarily mean, as we move the means of production from being human to agent-powered for the majority of interactions, that the jobs will go away. I think the most famous example of this happening before was in the banking industry. When the automated teller machine, the cash machine was introduced, right, there was an assumption that retail bank employees would predominantly lose their jobs, right? There would be no need for people if you could go to a machine and put money in and get money out. Why would you need so many employees? But if you look at the graph, what actually happened is banks became hubs for financial services. They actually hired more retail banking employees, and those retail banking employees became offerers of other financial services, financial advice, loans, et cetera, et cetera. And so the banking industry changed and became more valuable and adapted, and people were needed. We've seen this over and over again when technology comes in. I think as we get into customer service and think about it, we think that this is going to happen again. And this idea that as you make a thing more convenient, people use more of it. As your car gets more kilometers to the liter of petrol, you drive further, right? Is known as Jevons paradox, right? You make a resource more convenient, it becomes easier. And this isn't just in customer service and in banking, right? In 2010, Amazon had 56,000 fulfillment center employees worldwide. And they introduced robots and they thought they were kind of going to cap this out. But it allowed them to like lower the margin on products even further. Sales went up. Now they have 1.5 million employees in their fulfillment centers. Well, in 2023, that's what they announced, right? When VisiCalc was launched, the first spreadsheet ever on the PC computer, on the IBM PC, or on Apple II maybe, they actually took a full-page ad out in the Wall Street Journal, and it said, fire your finance department, you won't need them anymore. Now you have VisiCalc, right? I feel like finance departments are doing okay. Like we have quite a few finance people. This is a thing, a motion which has been happened again and again and again. Technology enables work, it doesn't destroy it. I think to understand that enablement, we have to ask, what is the nature of customer service? Why does it even exist? Like, why do we have these rituals and these scripts and these cues? How did we end up with this? I think support, I've been in the customer support technology land for like 15 years. And it's generally that the support department is, you know, kind of treated a bit crappily within the organization. It's seen as a cost center. It's starved of resources. They don't get any development help from the CIO particularly, certainly not from engineering. And we've spent a lot of time trying to convince people that it is a source of revenue, it is a source of engagement with your customers. You should be spending more time on it. This is actually data from Zendesk's implementation of Zendesk. So we have Zendesk on Zendesk, and 54% of our customers last year contacted support. Of the, those 54% of customers represented 94% of the value of revenue that Zendesk has and 95% of the growth. What is the conclusion here? The conclusion is your most important customers contact your customer support department because they're the most engaged with your product. If we think about why are they contacting, what is happening in support, ultimately it's because support departments have evolved to be the place where you deal with the crap that you have broken in your company, right? I am calling support, someone is calling support because something is not working. You have a failure in your business, right? Marketing oversold the product, sales oversold the product underdelivered, the implementation was bad, something broke, the trousers don't fit. Whatever it is, it's something that's broken. Now you could go upstream and fix that, but what you actually do is you write down standard operating procedure in your knowledge base, standard operating procedure and a source of truth for your customer service agents, and you use a human-based runtime to solve that problem over and over again with customer service agents, right? Most customer service tickets are basically fixing things in the business where you're just running the same procedure over and over again with humans. Back to Amazon, they don't do that, right? They have productized every single reason you would contact Amazon. I want to track my package, I want to change the order, I want to replace the item, I want to do something. Everything is part of the product, or everything is part of the website, or part of the app, or both. They have no customer support number on the website. They don't need it. You can do it all in the app. I think we'd all like to do that in our businesses, right? We'd all like to solve every problem. But we don't, because it's a lot easier to just write a procedure for our customer support agents and have them deal with it. There is a new way, and that's with our AI agents, right? If you think about what an AI agent is, you write a procedure for it, you build an integration into your back office systems, and then the AI agent runs it. It's ultimately a low-code environment for fixing the problems in your business. What you're really doing here is giving power to the customer service agents. You're turning them into citizen developers to solve the problems of your company. They describe it, the people who begin using our AI agents, as being incredibly empowering. They don't have to wait for someone else to build a fix. It's also changing the business and notion in the way that you are able to create new value through the agents and redirect people around the organization and think differently about the business. On the customer side, I think we feel psychologically different asking for help from a machine versus asking for help from a person. Sometimes we want to get to a person. We want to make that person, quote unquote, suffer as a result of the problem we have. But usually, we actually just want the answer, and we sort of prefer that we're not bothering anyone and it's a machine that is answering. In Zendesk surveys, and this goes up every year, this year, 51% of people said they would rather talk to a bot if it's an issue that they want to resolve quickly. They feel like it will happen easier, it will be more reliable. That number keeps increasing, and we anticipate it will continue to increase. And so we've established that support is incredibly important. It's where you talk to your best customers. It's a place where you can automate. But the question is, how do you decide what to automate, right? So I think to answer that question in customer support, you look at what is the nature of the actual inquiries that you have. And at Zendesk, we use an AI model to basically establish the human language of every ticket that our customers have. We establish the sentiment of the customer inquiry. The incoming sentiment that we have, is this person frustrated, angry, negative, happy, neutral, etc. And the intent, right? The intent is, why are they calling you? And actually, we built a custom taxonomy of intents using human labelers and classifiers. And we figured out that basically in the customer service industry as a whole, there's a repeatable set of about 2,000 to 3,000 reasons why people contact customer support. It varies by industry, so retail is about 457, 447 contact reasons. Exchange, return, delivery address, et cetera, et cetera. You can kind of run through them, and so on and so forth. So we analyze every ticket and we look at it. We took 33 million tickets recently, and mostly in B2C. And we said, okay, let's categorize the 2,400 intents. Let's figure out which of them are failures of something in the business, which are low-value interactions with users, and which are high-value interactions with users where you're actually generating a benefit and engagement to the business. 71% are product doesn't work, wrong size, where's my funds, something that was broken in the business, something that was happening. It's the vast majority of the tickets, right? Are failures in the business. These are things, if you think about the use of AI agents, this is where you will ideally not need an AI agent, because the AI agent you use is Cursor or Windsurf, and you go fix the problem in the business, in the application, in the website. Now, for the product people in the room, they kind of know that we're not going to do that, because they're product people, and once they get tools and they're more productive, they're just going to build more features that will generate more failures, because that is the cycle and nature of software as a whole, right? But that's what we should do. What we will do is probably use AI agents to instrument and build repeatable process to solve these problems. The next category is low-value interactions and failures, right? So, where's my order? What's the status? What's happening with this? These are generally questions to which you may already have an answer and an implementation in the website. Someone may be looking at the delivery date in the app and they still call you because they're hoping that mom will give them a different answer to dad, right? It's the same thing your kids do. Some people just press 0, they want to talk to an operator. And one of the things we're finding with automation is the more that you automate, the more that people escalate. So automation actually weirdly drives engagement on the phone, because people come to the phone for a synchronous human conversation to deal with it. But these inquiries are just a cost of doing business, right? You have to be there to talk to your customers. It's something they're looking for. And then finally, 11% are kind of high value, right? I want to, churn prevention, upsell, detailed conversations, right? It's places where you want to actually engage with the customer and spend more time with them. In general, customer support is like a factory powered by humans, right? You look at average handle time, tickets per day, time to first response. If you think about using an AI agent, right? Time to first response, 200 milliseconds pretty consistently, depending on your app, right? Average handle time, who cares, right? It's a bot. Talk to it for as long as you want. Tickets per day, who cares? As many as you want. Keep asking. It's more convenient, you'll keep asking. So the metrics change and things are different. What do you do with the free time? You put as many people as possible into this bucket, and you make these conversations as long as possible. Zappos famously was a shoe selling website, primarily in the US. If you called their customer service line, they would never hang up on you. They had famously had calls that went on for 8-10 hours where they just continued talking to the people. The operator would take bathroom breaks and then come back, right? And they did that because they're selling shoes. It's the same shoes everyone else sells. Their only differentiation was service. And so they wanted to prove that they had the best service. They were ultimately acquired by Amazon. So what can we learn here that is general information? I think we have to, as we deploy AI agents in the organization, right, we have to figure out what is low value, what can be automated. That means going back to first principles and asking, why do we even do this? Why do we do this at the company? What is it for? And then creating that motion. And we need to move humans into the tasks that are high value, that drive growth, that engage with customers, and do something for them. That's the idea. And so probably have 1 minute for questions. But here's a shitty image of me that ChatGPT generated, not knowing what a gnarly old contact center bastard I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adrian. We're going to take a moment because you're the last one. So basically, we have all the time we want, which is a privilege, actually. So we're going to take some time, to interact with you if you're okay. You have a question for Adrian?
Yes, I'm so happy to meet you because I come from a company we've been using Zendesk for a couple of years. We are using 90% of our tickets are spoken support. And we put in 70 documents in your support documents and use your AI text agents. It didn't work well 1 year ago, but I think it's improved. But we're dreaming about spoken support, and so we didn't get it from you, and I don't know if you got it today. Then we went to 11 labs, used the same document, just pointed to you the documents in your system. And it worked pretty good in all different languages and stuff. So where are Zendesk moving on this spoken supports? And what also I think is the interesting thing about this, what's your business model? Because you're paid per agent, and if the agent is not needed anymore because it's handled by spoken support. So there's 2 questions in this.
Yeah.
And I think the last one is the difficult one.
The last one's easy.
It's free.
They're both easy. So I think that the majority of SaaS software in the world is going to go to metered usage tied to the value that it delivers. And so we launched outcome-based pricing for our AI agents last year, I think it was, or maybe it was earlier this year, which allows us to basically tie the value you get to the value we provide. So we have another agent that monitors every conversation if you're on outcome-based pricing, because the only way to solve a problem with AI is with more AI. And that agent says, yes, this was a completed outcome and we solved your problem. And you can pay, the US list price is $2 per resolution. And we will, if you're on that plan, you don't pay for kind of other usage as you do that. So I think one day all software will be sold this way. We're actually experimenting with some customers. We're completely doing away with the seat revenue. And you basically pay one price for a human resolution and one price for an automated resolution. And then you can license every single person in your company and use Zendesk. That's what it is. So I agree with you on the economics. The unit economics of software are changing, and we think we're leading the way. Second question, voice, beta coming Q3. We're looking at 11 labs, speech-to-speech from OpenAI, and a couple of other technologies. But ultimately, the language portion of it is solved by foundational labs. And then what Zendesk kind of brings to the table is using the procedures and the documents and the knowledge base, as you said, and being able to apply that in the context. And so we want to make it so that once you do that work for text channels, it works for voice, video, and other things when we get there. So come to. Thank you for the question, and thank you for being a customer.
We have more questions, but the price per seat is very interesting. In the age of AI, a lot of software companies are struggling, with the price per seat. It's a very interesting topic, by the way. Yeah. One more question here.
Hi, thank you very much for the talk. My name is Joseph. I'm the co-founder of a company called Olivia, and we are kind of a AI native company that does customer service. So you don't know us yet. I'm hoping to change that in the next couple of years. So 2 questions for you. The first one is, what is your advice for companies trying to do that? And then the second is, what's your roadmap to fend us off, basically?
So what's the best way to kill you?
Many have tried. I'm still here, man. I think there's a huge, the world economy of customer service, if you want to think about it, according to IDC, is $600 billion. About $100 billion of that is software. $500 billion is humans, right? I think you and I would agree, Joseph, that probably at the end of this decade, that will be 250 software and maybe 100 humans or something like that. We can argue over the numbers, but it's going to look a bit like that. It's a very, very big lake, and there's room for us all to fish.
Have a question too?
But if you come fishing in my part, I'm going to harpoon your fucking boat and sink you. So it's on, brother.
It's a nice answer. But the best answer you can get, is afraid of you. Otherwise, you won't say that, so.
Always be paranoid.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation, Adrian. These are fascinating numbers to see. I'm curious to know from your perspective, what are the threats or risks of going full agentic or full Gen AI, especially at Zendesk scale?
I mean, the risks to Zendesk, honestly, are minimal. We've figured out the unit economics of pricing. It's a thing that some customers want. I will tell you, my lived experience going and talking to many of our customers is they're just not there yet, right? They don't have the skill set, the comfort. They're too risk averse. And ultimately, when I tell them, I'm like, figure out which intent you should automate and then build a procedure for that intent, create some MCP-based AI actions, and then do the thing. They're looking at me like, dude, we sell spoons. You need to help me with that, right? And so a lot of what we do as software vendors, I think, is democratize access to the best of technology and bring people forward with trust and have them use the product. And I think what we are trying to do is continue with that democratization for a lot of our customers. But the biggest risk is that we get over our skis, as we say, and we're just too far ahead of them. And they're like, yeah, I'll go somewhere else. You don't seem to understand me. I'm going to go work with Joseph. And so you always have to listen to your customers, push them, but not to the point where you make them uncomfortable, right? Whatever you do, some people, they worried about an AI GDPR risk that you just don't think is real, but it's their worry, and you have to respect it.
All right. One last question. That's going to be a quick one. All right?
Thank you, Adrian, for the presentation. I wanted to know what makes you believe, why are you positive on the positive impact of AI? And you brought the example of banking system revolution, that more automation made more progress, when there are some times in some events, like in the 1800s with the Logitech revolution, where a lot of people, a lot of people died, a lot of people lost. Do you think it will be somewhat the same or a better outcome?
I think whether it's personally, team, department, company, doesn't matter, technology, change is kind of hard and uncomfortable, right? And there's no two ways around it, right? In any given change, there will be winners and there will be losers, and some people will feel aggrieved. And I am optimistic for the employment future of society as a whole, right? It isn't necessarily, I mean, I want everyone to have a job, but it isn't potentially the most fulfilling experience in the world. Have you visited a 1,000-person call center in the Philippines? You know, I have. And following those scripts and building in that way, there's better capacity for the human intellect and human judgment and human empathy, right? And we need to, I think, we need to be moving more towards that. Not to disparage someone's job or the way that they earn a living, right? Because we all need to earn a living, God knows. And so I remain globally optimistic, macro optimistic, but I acknowledge, I think we have to acknowledge, right, that there will be winners and there will be losers. But overall, I think there'll be more winners and society will benefit.
Great. Thank you so much, Adrian. Big round of applause to you.